seen over the past couple of weeks. It's great to see you. You can't hear me? You can? Or not? Okay. That better? Okay. All right, well, we're going to get started. We have some of our candidates in the room, so we want to give them a chance to say hi, and you get a chance to meet them. Peter, you want to get us started this evening?
Outstanding.
All right.
Can you do the honors?
Okay. You want to take it?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Hey, well, this is an honor, so good evening, Humble Area Democrats. How y'all feeling with 21 days to go to the big day? It's a Christmas in here. This is outstanding, right? Just feel the enthusiasm, the excitement. That's my dog Wally. Sorry, I couldn't leave him at home. So I do have a question for you this evening. Now, it's a tough question. So now my question for you is: would you like an honorable leader representing you in Washington D.C.? Yeah. Or would you like a dishonorable leader representing you in Washington, D.C.? Okay, so what's the answer? Bingo! Right, we need honorable leaders representing us up in Washington, D.C. So, well, sorry to tell you, but I'm running as Dan Crenshaw. Well, let me tell you about Dan Crenshaw. Well, okay, so let me just tell you, so this week he was on a couple of programs this past week, and he takes a point upon himself to eviscerate people. Eviscerate. Definition, to extremely disrespect people. And that's what our representative takes pride in. So would that fall under the honorable or dishonorable category? What do you think? Dishonorable. Good answer, bingo. So that's what I'm up against. And literally, he takes pride in that. He posts it on his social media. So when he's in an interview question and the interviewer asks him a tough question, where does he go to? Eviscerate. So he starts to insult them, insult their intelligence. So that's when he just has to ask a tough question. Or if you say something he doesn't like, uh-oh, look out for Mr. Eviscerator. And that's who represents us in Washington, D.C. How embarrassed are we? Oh my God, I'm ashamed that Dan Crenshaw is my representative and the eviscerator? Well, the honorable leader standing in front of you, this gentleman right here, is Peter Filler, the voice of reason. So I call myself the voice of reason because I'm an educator. I work every single day with my students, and that's a lot of tough questions, believe me. That's kids will ask you wacky, crazy questions, right?
What grade do you teach?
I'm a 9th grade English teacher, English 1 at Kip Northeast College Prep. So let's go Gators. Shout out to my home team. But so I'm an honorable person, and actually, you know what I do? I call the conservative talk radios. And I say, hey, ask me some questions. Chris Salcedo, Chris X, all these guys, the Walton and Johnson, ask me any question because I'm open. I'm an open book. And I engage them with a dialogue. So that's what we should have, like a discourse, right? Like asking and answering questions, and to the best of my ability. And I never lie to these people. I'm always honest, and I'm never going to try to eviscerate them because I want to gain their trust. I'm trying to persuade them to see things like the voice of reason, Peter Filler. Does that make sense? So that's just one example of why Peter Filler, I'm the honorable leader, and I want to be your representative in Washington, D.C., and it starts for us on October 21st. Oh my God, only 1 week away. We're going to have a chance to vote. Are you guys excited? That's outstanding. So now my next question is, are you ready to send Peter Filler, the voice of reason, to Washington, D.C.? Okay, that was good. But I know you can do better than that, because remember, I'm up against the eviscerator, Dan Crenshaw. The dishonorable man, and you want to send the honorable man, Peter Filler, to Washington, D.C., don't you? Yeah. So now my question is, are you ready to send the man with the plan who's going to unseat Dan to Washington, D.C.? Okay, yep, that was a little better, but I still think we can do a little better than that. So remember, you're looking at Peter Filler, the man who, The Hill, said I have a 1% probability of winning. Remember, those are my odds. To quote Jim Carrey, so you mean I got a chance? That's right, I have a chance. But the only way is with your help, so with your energy and your enthusiasm and your send-off to Washington, D.C. So again, my last question. Are you ready to send Peter Filler to Washington, D.C.? That sounds much better, so thank you so much. So I look forward to seeing you at the polls, and I've got some campaign literature in the back, so please pick up a sign, and I look forward to seeing in about a month as the Democratic nominee-elect for U.S. House Texas District 2. About 1 month from today. Thank you very much.
Hey, Peter. Sean,
All right, Peter.
it's all up to you now.
Gotta top that.
4 or 5 minutes. I'm a lawyer. It's going to be 20. Sorry. All right. I'm Sean Tier, and I'm your Democratic nominee for Harris County DA. I think my race is pretty important. I hope you guys know, and it's way down the ballot. But I want to take just a few minutes and talk to you about the rest of the ballot and how important everyone that takes the time to come out to these meetings, to come out in Humboldt and listen to us so that you can go communicate. It's not just my race. It's the 8 people up in the first and the 14th appellate courts. All of the things I want to do to help change and really make this county and this state different can't happen if we have ideologue, MAGA people who aren't going to follow the law, who are just going to follow what they are being told from Austin and DC as to what to do. Right now we have good people in those positions, and we can keep control of the 1st and the 14th if we vote all the way down. Obviously the top of our ticket is incredible. Kamala, Colin, and it's not just us that think that. In the last 2 days, I have been with Cory Booker and the chairman of the Democratic National Committee. And I didn't have to leave Harris County. They're here because they know how important and how close Texas is. And we can have this entire country look different November 6th. And it all comes out of Harris County. Not just the state of Texas, Harris County. And it's going to happen because of people just like you in these rooms for the next 21 days being the most annoying, the most consistent people. Everyone you know, everyone you love, friends, family, random people in the grocery store. Tell them to vote. Tell them to vote straight down the ticket. They took away our straight ticket voting because they knew that they were starting to lose in a big way. But it doesn't mean it's just more pushes, guys. We still just push, push, push. 16 pages. I happen to be on page 16. So to get to me, you got to vote all the way down. We got to get a new tax assessor collector. Nobody knows what that job is, but trust me, it is an incredibly important job. Money. And our choice is someone who is absolutely experienced and knows what they're doing, or Steve Raddick. We really want Steve Raddick in charge of all of our This, I mean, they're all easy. They really, really are. And when you have someone like our current state senator, Molly Cook, that warms my heart to be able to say, not Senate-elect, not any, she's our current senator. So we need to keep her here. There are so many candidates, and for the first time in at least my voting life, there's not even one on the Democratic ballot in Harris County that you have to go, just you can feel as comfortable and safe voting all the way down the ballot as you've ever been able to do. And so, in 21 days, you can apologize to everybody November 6th. But right now, it's phone calls, it's randomly grabbing people on the street, everything we can do, because there are more of us than there are of them. There are more of us than there are of them, and if we go to the polls,
we win!
Full stop. I love you, Humboldt. Thank you so much for having me.
Ashley, Right here. There we go.
Good evening.
evening.
It's been a long day. It's been a full work day. I have block walked today. I dragged my daughter out to block walk. She's a 4-year-old block walker now. But I am Ashley Mace, guys, running to be the next judge of Harris County Criminal Court at Law number 16. And are y'all ready? Yeah. We have worked. We have laid the groundwork, and it's time to win. And I'm just very excited about what's to come in the next few weeks. I'm looking forward to taking the bench next month, but there's just a little bit more work we have to do to get me there. And I just want to first of all thank Humble Area Dems for all you have done for me in this year-long campaign. And thank you in advance for getting me to past the finish line, because I know that that is coming. I look forward to being a judge that will build a bridge between the community and the courts, and we will have somebody, another judge. We have lots of judges in Humble, as a matter of fact, but one more judge that lives in Humble, one more person who is caring about the safety concerns, community concerns that you share by living in this area, and I just look forward to being the next judge in Court 16. But above all, let's just get ready to fight. Let's get ready to have a battle. Let's show them that Harris County is nothing to be played with, that we mean business, and that we are not going back. So, and I'm happy We're not going back. That's right. So thank y'all for having me tonight. I look forward to having a great meeting, and I'll be around to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to highlight what Sean was saying. From the top of the ballot to the bottom. From 2020 to 2022, we didn't lose. We had 200,000 no Democrats that didn't vote. And that's what we're doing with our block walks. We're reaching out to those folks. Because they voted in the past, we just got to remind them to go out and vote this time. We turned out that 220,000, that is 20% of the way to the 1.1 million that we want in Harris County. And if you remember from last month, if we get the 1.1,
we win.
exactly. Thank you. That means there's no chance for that other person to end up in the White House because Texas will be blue.
Yes.
That's what that means. Harris County can make it happen. Molly, did you want to talk separately or just want to do it all at once? Okay. Wade, you want to come on up? All right, welcome.
Hey, Peter Filler, I hardly know her. You'll have to forgive me when it's not election season, I am a comedian. But right now, I am here working for the AFL-CIO's Working People PAC. That means that I'm out here talking about union-endorsed candidates and about the things that we do as union members and as laborers. I've given about 2,000 pictures of Sean away. It's a good reason. He's on the front for a reason. And look at that smile. Yeah. So one of the things that I am here for specifically is Harris County Proposition A. You know, we talked about going down to the bottom of the ballot. This is the bottom of the bottom of the ballot. You will have to scrape the bottom of the ballot to see this. But Harris County Proposition A is about our flood mitigation infrastructure. It is an increase of funding for those projects that will keep our floors dry. We at the AFL-CIO have endorsed the yes vote. The HCDP is still deciding. I think that's this week. They're going to decide how they officially feel about it. But at the end of the day, what matters is you, as voters, individually, how you want to vote on that proposition. So I'm going to be at the back of the room as well. I'm going to be handing out these informational cards. It's the one that doesn't have Sean on it. Instead, it's going to be talking about our flood mitigation infrastructure. The other reason I'm here tonight is I want to ask you all to do even more, which I know is a crazy thing for election season, but we need poll watchers. We need people working the voter protection hotline. We know from previous years that the Republican playbook is to do soft voter intimidation, to mildly harass people and ask them questions they don't know the answer to try and get people who have every legal right to vote not to cast their ballot. You want to talk about getting our 1.1 million? We got to protect them. And so, one of the reasons I'm here tonight is if you have some free time during early voting on election day, take some time to work with us, I can put you in contact with the people you need to speak to get certified, be a poll watcher, work on our election hotline, and hopefully help us save democracy. Thank you.
That's right. Hey, do we have any other candidates or electeds in the House? All right. Well, we have a special treat tonight. What's that? All right, so I want to introduce our two speakers for this evening. Very excited about our conversation tonight. All right, Lauren Hadley is Senator Molly Cook's Legislative Director and General Counsel. She's working to advance legislative priorities in our Senate District 15. Lauren has nearly a decade of legislative experience, previously working with then Senator Kirk Watson, Representative Donna Howard, Representative Gina Hinojosa, and most recently, Policy areas of interest for Lauren include workers' rights, reproductive health, and sustainable energy. She's a graduate of Texas A&M Law School, where she focused on public interest law and labor and employment law. She's also a graduate of UT at Austin, where she received her BA in government. And Lauren this evening is our Senator, Molly Cook. I agree with Sean. She's our senator right now. Awesome. She's a born and raised Texan, ER nurse, community organizer, and our Democratic Senator Representative, Texas Senate District 15. You ought to see this resume. This is just awesome. Biggest thing is I met Melly a few years ago in community organizing, and she is just awesome at it. One of the biggest things she did most recently, besides winning the Senate seat, was she led the Fair for Houston campaign, collected over 23,000 signatures, knocked 150,000 doors with 250 volunteers, and they passed Prop B by over 30-point margin. So think about how close all the elections are, 30 points. It's pretty cool. So join me in welcoming Lauren and Senator Molly Cook.
Upper Area Dims, one of my all-time favorite clubs. Y'all are always so warm, so welcoming. We're very glad to be here tonight to talk to y'all. The elections are coming up. That is front of everybody's mind. But shortly after elections comes the Texas legislative session. So we also want to be thinking about that and getting us all prepared. And one of the things that's really important to our office is that we don't just go in there to fight for all the things that we care about. We're going to do that. You can trust us to go in there and work on democratic values. But we want you to feel powerful to shape the change that's happening around you. We want you to feel the access that you have to the Texas State Capitol. And we want you to feel like you're a part of this process because you are. And so our goal here tonight is that you leave a little bit more powerful, a little more informed, a little more ready to advocate for your own values, for what's happening in your own backyard from the presentation that we give, and that you know how to plug in with our office. I'm really excited that Lauren is here from Austin tonight. Can we give her a round of applause? And John did incredible intros, but I'm going to give her just a moment to introduce herself since she is new to us tonight. So Lauren, if you want to share.
Yeah. Is this on? Is this working? Yeah. I'm Lauren Hadley. I'm from Austin, and I still live in Austin, and I'm just so excited to be working for Senator Cook now. I'm new to Houston. I have a lot to learn, so feel free to just, let me know it all. So I'm trying to learn it quick, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. You guys seem like a wonderful group. You guys have been so welcoming, so thanks for having me.
And I will tell y'all, since I'm the new legislator, and y'all will get to meet the Chief of Staff, Allie Smither, who's easily the smartest woman I've ever met in my entire life. But both of us are new to the legislature, so it was very important to us that we hire folks who are not new to the legislature and know their way around and know how to help all of us. So also here tonight is Ariana Campos, who is our district director. And Ariana has worked with the county, she has worked with the House rep as a chief of staff before, so we have assembled quite the team, and some of our policy analysts that you'll get to know throughout the session also bring a wealth of experience. So when you come to our office, we're going to take good care of you. We're going to talk tonight about what is the Texas legislature. Has anyone in here ever Has anyone ever been to the Texas legislature, to the Capitol? Okay. Has anyone not been to the Capitol? Oh, look at that. I'm so excited. Okay, perfect. How to advocate in the Texas legislature, which we could, write endless books on, but we'll cover as much as we can tonight, and then go from there and we'll get prepped for the session. We can skip that. We already did that part. Okay, and I'll kick it to Lauren and talk about what is the legislature.
Awesome. So yeah, what is the Texas legislature? So in Texas, we have 3 branches of government. We have the executive, which is where Governor Greg Abbott is. We've got the judicial branch, and then we've got the legislature. So we've got 2 chambers. We're a bicameral legislature. There are 150 members in the House, serving 2-year terms, and districts are almost 200,000 people. And then in the Senate, we've got 31 members, and they serve 4-year terms and a little over 800,000 constituents in those districts. So responsibilities and roles of the legislature. So the number one thing is introducing and voting on bills to change statutory law. That's, a bill comes up, we're gonna vote on it, it's either gonna go up or down, and then it's gonna go to the other chamber to be voted on. Proposing constitutional amendments. You might remember some of these from last year. There were a whole bunch of them on like a teacher pay raise, the COLA, TRS COLA, energy fund, things like that. Appropriate funds for state agencies and approve the state's budget. So Texas has one of the largest budgets. I mean, it's bigger than some nations. So it's a huge thing we do. It's the one thing that we have to do every session is pass that budget. And then approve gubernatorial appointments to state agencies and boards. And also, most important thing we do actually is constituent services, answering questions about policy and ensuring accessibility to state agencies. If you guys ever need anything, please don't hesitate to call our office and we'll get you connected.
You also, just making a note, if you have any questions about stuff that comes up, we'll go back one slide real quick. You have Post-it notes at your table, and you can write down questions, and Ariana is going to pick those up before the end, and we'll answer some of them at the end of the presentation. So if you have questions, just write them down. One of the things I want to talk about is approving the gubernatorial appointments. That is one of the main powers of a senator, and it's actually quite powerful. On one of 31, we have 12 Dems, which means that we have just one enough Dem to block a supermajority, which you basically don't need for much anymore, right? There's not a ton of structural power, to be totally honest with you guys, that Democrats have in that chamber. But if the governor wants to appoint someone and they're a constituent of SD 15, I have to approve it. So I have to go through, I have to have a conversation with them, ask them what they know about this job, what they, do they want this job, what skills do they bring, and then I go comb their social media and see, have you said something horrible about the LGBT community or whatever it is. And I can say no to that, which is a political move. So just to let y'all know, there are some exciting things that, despite the imbalance of power in there, that we do have access to. And for constituent services, I always tell folks, you have a one-pager on your table that kind of talks more specifically about exactly what that is and what we can help you with. Anytime you interact with the state of Texas, you should CC us on that email. Anytime you interact with a state agency, anytime you're working on anything to do with the state of Texas, include us on that. Give us a call, let us know. It's actually unreal. You will get the runaround for months and months and months, and one call from a senator, all of a sudden things get fixed. So please do not wait to reach out to us. Let us know the first time that you have to start reaching out about, CHIP or Medicaid or a license or whatever it is, and we can help you with that, and we're excited to help you with that.
Awesome. So the legislative process. So first thing that happens is a bill idea becomes a draft. And then we take that draft, we file it. First day to file bills this session is November 11th, I think. The 12th, because the 11th is Veterans Day. So then we file it, we introduce it, and then it's going to go, since we're starting in the Senate over here, it's going to go to a Senate committee. And then the committee is going to hold a hearing on it, people will testify for and against it, and then it will go up for a vote in that committee. It'll either be approved or rejected. If it's approved, then it goes to the Senate floor, where it's voted on again. And if it's passed on the Senate floor, then it gets to go over to the House, and then they do the whole process over again. It's going to go to a committee, probably might have a hearing. Sometimes if it's already had a hearing in the Senate, they'll just kind of put it up for a vote right away. It doesn't have to have that same public hearing. But then it's got to go to the governor's desk, and he will either sign it or veto it. So yeah, that's it.
And when we put it on here all cute, it's like, yeah, that's it. And actually it's like a harrowing multi-month process. Your bill is like taken apart and put back together again. And I just say that to say that every single moment of this process, there is strategy. Sometimes that strategy is loud, sometimes that strategy is super sneaky. And one thing that I want you to know about us is that we are here to help you with strategy. We need your help as well. But if you're like, hey, how is this going to play? Who's the Republican that's going to be sympathetic to this? You know, should we file it in both chambers? Who do you think would file this for us that would have a better chance than a freshman would? We're here for all of those discussions. We want you year after year to get better at making change in your communities. And there's lots of levels and ways to make change. You can do it through implementation. So once a bill gets passed, you still have to make sure that that bill gets enforced and implemented the way that you imagined that it would. And sometimes it doesn't. So there's a lot of opportunities for that, but we're here to be on that journey with you. Okay, so what's your role? That was our role. What is your role in the Texas legislature? And y'all know that my background is in organizing. So I think that your role starts with organizing in your communities. And that could be, you know, plugging into your faith home, your church, synagogue, or mosque. It could be your book club or, you know, the ladies that you play cards with on the weekends. Whoever it is, being connected in your community, knowing your neighbors, and having a way to communicate to each other and say, hey, you know, we need a speed bump here. What do we need to do about that? Or hey, you know, the water has been dirty and we need our municipal utility district to clean up the water. Whatever it is, so that when you do go to make change, you're making change as a group together. Because we all know that that's how we're more powerful. You can propose bills to your state senator or state representative. So you're welcome to come to us and say, you know, there's a firearm safe storage law that, you know, passed in whatever state that I just thought was so amazing. Can you file this for us? And you bring us the bill of language. And we'll say, hey, we like that too, let's do it. Or we'll say, I like it so much, I don't think you should have a freshman file it. I think I should help you find somebody else to do it. Or say, you know what, I don't have the political capital for that this session. Let's talk about what another option might be. But you bring us that and we can help you with it. Bring any concerns to your state senator or representative that might require legislative solutions. So maybe you haven't found a bill, you don't have model policy, you don't have a solution yet, but you're just so frustrated because Centerpoint and the city refuse to chop down the tree that's on your house. You know, whatever it is, you call us and you say, we've got this problem. And one thing I'll say, our office's goal is to be a one-stop shop for you. So that means if it's a federal problem, you can bring it to us. We're gonna help you find out who at the federal level to talk to, and we're gonna make sure that they hear from you. And if they don't get back to you, you let us know, we'll make sure that they get back to you. Same thing with the city, the county, whatever it is. If it's a direct state issue, we'll do it. If it's not, then we'll help you find the right person. We don't want you to feel like you're high and dry out there by yourself. You can advocate and amplify and testify before the Senate and House committees. I'm telling you, even the crustiest Republican cares about your personal story. They really do. When you come up to the Capitol and you've got that 3 minutes and you share why this is personally affecting you and your community, it makes a difference. And the example that I always point to on this was raising the age to buy an assault rifle to 21. And the only reason that that made it to the floor of the Texas House, which it never should have done in this state, was because those Santa Fe families, the Uvalde families, came up there over and over, did incredible organizing, and laid their souls bare. And we got movement on a gun bill. I mean, that's wild. So I encourage you, don't lose faith and don't be discouraged. We gotta show up over and over again, and we don't know when the policy window is gonna open and when change will be possible, but coming up there and sharing who you are and being a part of this is an extremely powerful and important part of it. We truly would not pass good laws without folks who are willing to do that. And then come and visit the Capitol and meet with legislative staff on advocacy days. You can come up anytime you want. It is your Capitol, it is open to you. I spent the entire last legislative session there 2 or 3 days a week, just poking around, taking meetings, talking to people about bills, mostly working on a transportation portfolio. So as much time as you want to take off of work, maybe you're retired, whenever you can find a sitter, you are welcome to be at the Capitol. That being said, most of us have lives going on. It's hard to be at the Capitol that much. So pick an advocacy day, especially if you've never been before. One of my favorite ones I ever went to was the Moms Demand Action Day, and it was actually like a statewide coalition for common sense firearm safety reforms. And it's so much fun. They drive you, they feed you, they train you, You learn about the issue, you meet with legislators, the day is kind of set up for you. So it's a really great way to plug in, especially if you've never done it before, and sometimes even if you have. Cool. Okay. I put this up here, always, because it is actually a huge part of the reason why I'm a Texas state senator today. And so some of y'all who know me know that I started out as a transportation organizer. And we were organizing, trying to stop TxDOT from widening I-45, which will take over 1,000 homes in black and brown neighborhoods, businesses, fake homes, make flooding worse, air quality worse, traffic worse, all of that, right? Widening highways in urban centers is a bad idea. And as we did that work, we really, my group of volunteer organizers, just regular people hanging out, doing our best, thought, what do we want the law to say? Like, if Texas were a state with really great laws around transportation, what would they say? And we decided we wanted to write a bill that would stop TxDOT from taking homes from communities who have already paid the price over and over and over again for these terrible transportation decisions. And so we thought, well, let's make it against the law for TxDOT to take any homes from a climate vulnerable community. So if some communities already got high rates of asthma, high rates of flooding, you know, whatever it is, they should not lose more homes to a highway widening, to more concrete. And so we wrote that all out, just bullet points, and Penny Morales-Shaw, who's a hero of mine, submitted it to Ledge Council. And Ledge Council is that big group of like 50, 60 lawyers that take your bullet pointed list and turn it into fancy bill language. And in fancy bill language, anything that's underlined is new, being added to the code, anything that's crossed out is being deleted from the code, and then anything that's just plain writing is just what was already there. And if you've never read a bill before, it takes you like 3 or 4 bills to start getting used to it. So don't be afraid. You do not have to be a lawyer. We're very happy to have some lawyers on the team, very helpful. But you do not have to be a lawyer. You can be a nurse, you can be anybody and learn how to read bills and get good at this. So we got our draft back. Penny Morales-Shaw rightfully was like, I'm not really so senior enough to file a bill this big, because it's very significant to say TxDOT, you can't take any more homes in these neighborhoods. And actually, Representative Alma Allen, who's another hero, and Senator Boris Miles filed this for us. And the next day, I got a call from TxDOT, and they were like, you realize that this means we can't build any more highways, right? And I was like, yes. I didn't realize that. So, you know, we ended up coming up with a committee substitute. So that's like where you write a kind of a new version of it. And when you go to lay it out in committee, so the first time your member reads the bill out and says this is what it's about, they can bring in a substitute that's already been worked on. And so we narrowed the scope, included only urban centers, and had to figure out a way to kind of write out what vulnerability really means. All this process, I was working on it with my teammates, with Representative Alma Allen. She did, because of her seniority and her respect in the House, get a hearing on this bill. And it was really exciting. We got together a group of 22 advocates, some of whom were facing displacement from I-45, some of whom were air quality experts, some who were just energetic and excited organizers. And we came up to the Capitol and got to say our piece in front of the decision makers. The hearing ended up actually going so late that a lot of folks had to leave. So we made the best of it, pivoted, and sent in written comments, which you can do from the House side. We sent in written comments, we made social media videos, we sent in a bunch of stuff to the folks on the committee, and even though we weren't there, one person stayed behind, the chair noted that there were like 52 comments in favor of this bill and none opposed. So it didn't move past that point, and it certainly didn't pass, and TxDOT's certainly still being terrible, in my opinion. But it was huge, and all of us left with a new appreciation and understanding for how this works. Those committee members had a chance to think about what is our transportation paradigm? What are the values that underlie these decisions that we make and these designs that we come up with? And now, this next session's coming up, and that same group put somebody in the Texas Senate. So just dream big. That's really the point of this story. You can sit around with 6 of your friends and come up with a bill idea, and you can turn it into a bill, you can get a hearing, and maybe you can get somebody elected and make some change. And that excites me, so I want y'all to feel excited about it too. Okay, Lauren.
So lawmakers meet every other odd numbered year, and we're coming up on one in 2025. So opening day of session this year will be January 14th. And then 60 days after that is March 14th. That's the 60-day bill filing deadline. After that point, you can't file any more bills for session. As Democrats, we kind of like that because we're trying to slow down some of the things that come through. And then we just work really hard until June 2nd, and that's sine die, which means, like, I don't actually know what it means, it's Latin, I think it's end of session. And that's our last day. And normally, that's when it would end, but we keep having special sessions. We have more and more every year, it feels like. Last year we had 4 special sessions because the governor was trying to pass a voucher scheme. And one of the special sessions started on the day we left. So it was sine die, and he said, nope, you guys are coming back tomorrow, and we're gonna pass a property tax bill at that point. But yeah, lots of special sessions, and hopefully we don't have any this time, right?
We're preparing for the worst. So, and I will say there's usually over 8,000 bills filed. Over 8,000. Some of those are like vanity license plates that they're nothing, but a lot of them are significant. So just kind of imagine from birthing your bill to getting it signed by the governor is quite a treacherous process.
And then advocacy days, we mentioned this earlier, pretty much any org or interest you have is going to be having an advocacy day. American Heart Association, like Sierra Club, everybody's going to be having one. So some important ones coming up, All In for Equality, we know is going to be March 14th, which also happens to be the bill filing deadline. So it's a fun day. AFL-CIO will have one, we don't know when yet, and then the American Federation of Teachers will also have one. And it's to be determined, but yeah, just keep an eye out, plug into these orgs, and they'll let you know closer to the spring when their big days are going to be.
And I always just encourage people, like, whatever you're into, just kind of Google it. Like, maybe you're really into environmental justice or, transportation, whatever it is. Start Googling around which orgs there are associated with those issues, and a lot of them will have an advocacy day. Or you can email them and say, hey, do y'all have a Texas State advocacy day? And they may say, well, no, but this other org does, so you can plug in there. There's tons and tons and tons of them. Whatever is your poison when it comes to policy in the state capitol, you can find a place to plug in and they'll take care of you. Awesome. So this is our entire policy team. You're welcome to take a picture of this if you want to. The naming convention is first name dot last name at senate.texas.gov. Our chief of staff, again, Allie Smithers, she's an absolute hero. Lauren is here with you tonight. Jaysha McGee is our policy analyst. She's doing state affairs, healthcare, criminal justice, and veterans affairs. And then Rohit Shahjahan is education, transportation, natural resources, and economic development. And those are kind of, basically everyone's assigned to a different civic committee. Whichever ones I'm on will be places that we spend a lot of energy. That's just kind of the nature of it. The Lieutenant Governor has indicated that I can likely expect to be on Health and Human Services, which is very fitting as a nurse, so I'm very excited about that. Some of our most important and personal issues come through that committee, so I'll be very honored if I get to serve on there. And then we still will watch other committees. We still will carry other bills, especially if they're important to y'all, regardless of what committee I'm on. This is how you can get in contact with our office. So again, you can take a picture of this if you want to. If you come to the Capitol, our number will actually change, but it's all listed all over the Capitol. We would love to see you and stop by and take a picture and come have a Diet Coke or whatever. That we would love it, especially early in the session. It actually starts quite slow. That was the most surprising thing to me last year. The first couple of weeks, 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks, are much slower than the rest of session. So I always encourage people, come in January, come in early February, stop by, say hi. When I was there and just sticking my boot in the door and making people talk to me, I could get a meeting with a ledge director, a chief of staff, potentially a member in that first month. By the end of session, you will maybe have somebody who's like on the phone and taking notes on what you're saying, and certainly is not the member or chief of staff. So I just encourage people to come by. There's a lot more availability early on. And then our district address, where Ariana sets up shop and is running things, is 4808 Gibson Street. It's right where Shepherd and Durham meet, so kind of in Rice Military. It's no more than 30 minutes to any other part of the district, so you can, even from Omball, okay? We can get there in a timely fashion. We encourage you to make an appointment just because if you want to see a particular someone, you should make an appointment to make sure that they're there, but otherwise you can totally drop by. We'd love to see you. We also really want to service the local organizing that's going on, regardless of whether it's to do with state policy or not. So if you need a space for a club meeting, for a book meeting, whatever it is you need a space for, we're there for that, and our office is open to you. Just send us an email and let us know, hey, I've got this monthly meeting that we want to set up. We would love to host you there, and we've got Wi-Fi, coffee, a fridge, tables, all that kind of stuff. So just think about that if you need some space in the future. Okay, and everyone, please sign up for our newsletter. It comes out once a week. It will have all the information about legislative workshops. Once the advocacy days start getting planned, we will send those out to y'all. We'll keep you posted as things go on during the session. Sometimes in a state that's quite like ours, the strategy is to be very sneaky. And so that can be tough during the session to kind of explain what we're doing and what's happening. But as best we can, we'll keep you informed of how things are moving and why. And then after the session, we will debrief with you. We very much want to get on a 2-year cycle. So you're expecting it. We prep for session, we do session, we debrief for session, we take a break, we start prepping again for session. And all the while, we're also doing our electoral cycles as well. But just so that you guys kind of know what to expect from our office and how to be a part of it. And I think Ariana's picking up some questions.
Okay. How to cut some red tape and make it a shorter trip from beginning of bill until Senate vote. Same steps all over again.
Let me answer and then Lauren can fill in if I'm missing anything. One thing that really helps is if the bill already moved in the previous session, which is maybe a heartbreaking answer because you asked me how to make it shorter, making it longer. But it is common rhetoric around the Capitol that even for extremely good bipartisan legislation, it takes 3 sessions to pass. Even for really good bipartisan legislation. So one of the things that makes it easier is like, oh yeah, this bill got a hearing last time. Yeah, this bill passed the House floor last time. Or it flew through the Senate last time, that helps. And then you can co-file, so you can file in the House and the Senate at the same time in the hopes that once you pass through one chamber, you don't have to go all the way through the second one. You just go through them both at the same time. You meet at the top for a conference committee, which is where members of Senate and House get together, work out the kinks of the bill, and then that gets passed and potentially goes to the governor's desk. Another thing I will add for a lot of the stuff that we care about is we gotta flip some seats. That's what we have to do. So we'll be out there door knocking, not just getting call and all read in, but also looking to our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, some of the bigger issues for us. Yeah. So we also will be implementing some year-round door knocking and organizing to help with that.
I got a follow-up question, if it's okay on that one.
Just a second.
Yeah, I think you hit all the points.
What's your follow-up?
So where does your about the eminent domain and the preventing and the widening of the highways, like you said, 3 sessions, how do you feel about yours being reintroduced? Is it going to be reintroduced? How your odds, like where do you see it being reintroduced?
So I will say one of the most important things is that TxDOT needs to be able to spend money on things other than roads, which requires a constitutional amendment. It would have to pass 2/3 in both chambers, get voted on by the general public, and get over half the votes there. And we will likely be filing that bill or helping with other people filing that bill, but we'll keep you posted as our transportation portfolio advances.
Okay. Thanks.
How can we strengthen the EPA? The air smells so bad at least half the time.
So the EPA is federal, but we have the Texas Center for Environmental Quality, TCEQ. I would say we also need to flip some state policies to get real accountability out of TCEQ. A lot of these state agencies, they may even have staff that is qualified, well-intentioned, doing what they can. Their hands are tied by the leadership of this state. Every single state agency sunsets. So it's every 12 years they come up, I think. So every 12 years, every state agency, whether it's TxDOT, TCEQ, whoever, they have to have a bill that lets them keep on living. So it's like they automatically die after 12 years unless the legislature renews this agency, all of them, which I don't think other states do this, so Texas. But, and so at that point in time, there's a sunset committee made of House and Senate members, Democrats and Republicans. They get together, they study this in the interim, they make recommendations for changes. But whether or not those changes get implemented is up to often the chair of the committee. So if the chair of the environmental committee is not an environmental organizer, they may not accept all of the changes that were recommended by really great staff. So just more marriage between our electoral organizing and our issue-based organizing.
Is there an advocacy day regarding MUDs or HOAs? I can't think of one off the top of my head. I feel like the HOAs probably do. There's an association, but it would be pro-HOA. I'm not sure.
There's a coalition, I don't remember what it's called, like all of the sort of cities, counties, MUDs, all these groups, they have like a coalition of people, but it's not regular people. It's like the administrators of the municipal utility districts and things like that, that kind of have these organizations that are statewide that advocate. If we can't find you one, let's write that down actually, we can look it up, Ariana. But if we can't find you one and you want to start one, we'd love to help you do that. Whether that's just your, MUD getting together or reaching out to a couple of people that maybe have issues or want to work on stuff, we would love to help you put together an advocacy day. Start working on that.
Why did you oppose I-45 expansion? How can we improve and expand mass transit?
Love that question. Like, how much time do we have left? So I oppose the widening of I-45 because it is, first of all, completely dysfunctional. If you're going to do something this big, we're going to spend $9 billion, it should work, and wider highways actually make traffic worse. Every highway widening since the beginning of highway widenings has ultimately made traffic worse. Also, highways were built very purposefully through Black and brown neighborhoods, immigrant neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods. And so because the original policy was so racist and so classist, there is no way to widen a highway without it also being really racist and really classist. And all the while it's making traffic worse, making flooding worse, air quality worse, etc. Even by TxDOT's own admission, the I-45 expansion would reduce travel time from the Woodlands to downtown by single-digit minutes. Single-digit minutes. I mean, we're talking about a lot of concrete for basically nothing. And it won't actually work in the long term. So I think that we should be investing in multimodal transportation solutions. Texas is the only state with no dedicated public transit funding. Out of all 50, the only state with no dedicated public transit funding. So we need to untie TxDOT engineers' hands. We need to let them get creative, let them think about other modes of transportation, and we need to be advocating on the city, the county, local level as well. Because, I mean, it's a little different in Humboldt, but in Houston, if the mayor doesn't want it, it doesn't happen. So we need to work on the local level advocating to draw down federal funding as much as we can, to start to invest in multimodal transportation solutions. And then I would also encourage people, if you really care about this, start tuning into Metro board meetings, paying attention to what Metro is doing. Without getting too into it, we passed a giant bond in Houston to support Metro. The Metro Next plan, it won by like 67% of the vote. It was a $20 billion investment into our BRT, bus rapid transit, and other facilities. And I feel like as a voter, I voted on a set of projects, and the Metro board has really changed all those projects or canceled them. And so we have to stay on top of this as people if we want it, to keep telling our local leaders as well, like don't disinvest from this. We have to lean into it if we really want to reduce traffic and keep things safe and make travel accessible for folks with disabilities, folks who don't drive anymore, not isolate seniors. Like, there's a lot of benefits to having good multimodal transportation.
So that was all the written questions. Did anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, what are they doing with the 1% they get from more taxes anyway? Why do we gotta bond them?
That's a great question. So you get 1 cent off the sales tax. You know what's funny is actually the Transportation Mobility Program, I can't remember what it's called, we give back a quarter of that 1 cent to work on often roadway projects, which is unfortunately very popular, but like that is how transportation in Texas is viewed, is like, it seems like a burden that Metro takes this 1 cent and then we still have to give some back for roads. We should just full tilt invest in buses and trains. We should just be investing in them. It's much safer, it's much more efficient for evacuations when we're in a hurricane flood prone area. So it's also doesn't need to be revenue generating. It's like the mail. We don't need to generate revenue. It's a good service. You should provide it as a government for people because it makes society healthier and safer.
I just wanted to say on that note, I'm from up north. I lived in Chicago, New York, Cleveland, Ohio. And when I first came here, I thought that the way this was all laid out, without a mass transit system, was 40, 50 years behind the time. You can't get anywhere if you don't have a vehicle. Whereas, you know, it's just like it is up north. But if you had a bus going down 1960 on a regular basis and every other major thoroughfare, it sure would be a lot easier for people to come and go, and it would alleviate a lot of traffic on these freeways and everywhere else. So it just seems like, I hate to say it, but compared to up north, Texas is about 40, 50 years behind time.
You know, and it's really funny that you say it like that. If you want to get extra pissed off, which I think is great for advocacy and organizing, being extra pissed off, we did have a mass transit system. We did have railways. We did have a train to Galveston. They ripped it up. They tore down buildings. They built parking lots. We can have it again. That's a great point too. So we're fighting the oil industry. If you look at the Texas Transportation Commission, which is the 5 appointees that Governor Abbott puts in charge of TxDOT, one's a super old money banker, one was a Valero owner, one used to be a Toyota owner, one they're all in some way cars or oil and gas adjacent.
They got solar buses up north. They run on solar, they store.
Okay, now you're just bullying us.
I don't remember, but
and y'all need to veto it, but it's a super important bill. What happens during that process?
Okay, I love this question. So they're asking about, what happens to a bill, basically it passes both chambers, goes to the governor's desk, and he's vetoing them. And this is a great question because after the last session, in my opinion, sorry if he hears this, our governor was vindictive and cruel. The most important example to me was the sickle cell registry. How dare you veto the sickle cell registry because you are linking teacher pay to vouchers that absolutely nobody in this state wants. So much so that you're having to manufacture public support for other candidates, right? So that is the governor's prerogative, which is why it is so important that between cycles we are organizing. In 2 years, right? Yeah. There you go. But let's start knocking doors now and not stop. We get Kamala in, we get Colin in, we don't slow down, we speed up.
Something interesting too about the governor's veto authority, he has line item veto authority for the budget. So if there's just one thing he doesn't like, and this differs from Congress, the president can't do this. A few years ago, you might have seen he vetoed legislative staff salaries. Because Democrats were quorum breaking in DC for voting rights. So just another fun thing about our governor.
Also, I know it's probably a rainy topic, but I know for everybody. But about the border situation, I know for sure up in the Senate, it's a very powerful thing because, Abbott is going for Trump, and basically Trump is going to say the border is not this, the border is that. So what type of things that y'all have that try to make the border more secure and more protective over there? The governor's not even trying to do anything about it.
I get this question a lot, and I like to be very honest and say, I don't know. I've never lived on the border. I don't even live in a rural town. I'm a girl from Houston, okay? And we, and the border matters to all of us, but I don't know. And I look forward to learning from my colleagues who are at the border, being there, hearing from communities that are affected by the border, and what's going on. But no matter what we do in our office, we will center public health. Public health is the most important. We have one question back here first.
I'm curious what the best way is to find out on that last day of filing, and you can't file any more bills. How do I know what all is about to be in front of legislators?
This is such a great question. So after the last filing day, how do you know kind of what's in front of the legislature? The Texas Legislature online website TLO. And if you Google TLO, it's like the first, second, or third hit. They need to work on their SEO. But it's up there. And it's a little bit of a like hefty website. There's a lot of stuff to click through, but all your resources are there. And so you can go look at what committees people are on. You can go watch hearings, which I cannot recommend enough. Put it on while you're working from home. Put it on while you're, cooking in the kitchen, whatever, and just tune in. You will see people's faces change. You can hear testimony from affected community, whatever it is. But the Texas Legislature online website is my most used website during the session. So you can see everything there. And you can also ask us.
Regarding the advocacy day for HOAs and HUDs, how do you follow up with that? Call you guys?
Yes, you can. Ariana is here, Lauren is here, so you can get with either one of us and just tell us right now. We'll get your information. We'll follow up with you. If you want anything from our office anytime, you can send us an email. We have a 100% answer rate. We're very committed to that. So you will always, always, always hear back from us. Sometimes we'll be slower than others, but you will always hear back from us, but you can grab one of us and let us know. I think we're actually over time, so if we have any more questions. Okay.
So if you had to pick two bills at the top of your list, what are they? That you get a file.
And it's gonna pass. Regular. Honestly, just off the very top of my head, I would want some sort of omnibus reform that protects historical communities from losing their housing. It's a huge deal to our district. It's a huge deal. It affects public health on a lot of levels. We want to stop gentrification. We want to make sure that folks can afford to live in their neighborhoods, can afford to pass on their houses to their children. And then I would say, off the top of my head, the next big one is stop widening urban highways. So investing in multimodal transportation. What would your?
That's a hard question, but I think I would undo the abortion ban in Texas. It's awful.
Yes, ma'am.
And I probably yes, anything of women's rights, and then probably raising the minimum wage, workers' rights, things like that. We're so far behind.
Fully fund our public schools.
Fully fund our public. It's like a laundry list. There's so many
Enforcement of minimum
The changes that are happening in the school district, because I see a lot of little
We have a minimum wage, we don't have
rights, your
funding.
rights being taken away, little different things that as a parent that's happening. And I think it's only, it's that thought where you take a little bit here, you take a little bit here, soon it's big, and you've all lost so many rights. And I just see that coming down the road.
I know we're out of town. Right? Did you or do you know if CenterPoint, what was the end result of the CenterPoint investigation and everything?
There has not been an end result to CenterPoint's kerfuffle yet. We are going to go to bat for you really hard this session on that. So they had the Senate hearing where they got paddled. They had the House hearing where they got paddled slightly less hard. And we had recently a PUC hearing in town to hear from folks. Basically, everyone agrees on what needs to be done, and now it's all about negotiating how much do the ratepayers cover, does the state cover any, how much does CenterPoint have to, cut out of its profits and things like that. So some of that advocacy is going to come down to us saying, make CenterPoint pay for this, don't make it all pass on to the ratepayers. And then also thinking, what does real investment in a future-focused infrastructure look like? Does it cost $20 billion to bury power lines? Okay, well, how do we do that over the next 10 years? How do we find $20 billion? How do we all put it together and make it make sense? And so, it's getting rid of wooden poles, it's isolating outages, it's, making them more accountable and transparent through that process. So everyone, Republicans and Democrats, are saying the same things. I mean, I've never agreed with the Lieutenant Governor more than what he's been saying about CenterPoint. So we'll see what it turns into during session.
Is it CenterPoint or is it Abbott? Is it CenterPoint or Abbott?
Well, I love that question because in my opinion, you can expect profit-driven corporations sometimes to behave badly. You can't. And so why is our government, the Public Utility Commission, not having our backs? Why are they not advocating and standing in between these corporations and us to make sure that harm does not befall us? And that is Abbott.
Yeah, and it's evidence, you know, it's not cynical. Cynical do what they do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that the blame has been placed on Centerpoint when it should be more on Abbott.
And now we're back to door knocking.
I'm doing it.
I have a friend who's a very thoughtful person, so we may not agree on a lot of things, but he's very thoughtful and fair. And I posted something about,
So I have this friend, he's very fair-minded, but I posted something about school vouchers and how bad they are in general. And he came back and said, well, doesn't that help folks that are in poor performing schools? And well, I can understand how without the education of what this is really going to do, it sounds like a good idea. So how do we, because this is going to come up in this session, and we need to be able to talk to our friends and our neighbors. We may not come to the same conclusion, but at least if we agree on information, then maybe we can come up with it. So how do we answer my friend and tell him the truth about if Abbott's ideal passes, how does that affect various parts of our community?
Yeah. Well, first of all, vouchers are welfare for the well-off. They're not, they don't provide enough money for, your typical family to actually be able to still afford to send that child to private school. Private schools aren't subject to the same federal regulations that our neighborhood public schools are. Really hard for students with special needs or disabilities. They don't have to follow the same federal requirements that our public schools do. And they don't have to take everybody. They can pick and choose who they want to come. So we always say it's not about parents' choice, it's about the school's choice. The school gets to decide who's gonna come and be their students, and they're gonna pick, whoever they think is gonna be best and brightest and make them look the best, and that's it.
And that money comes from the public schools pot money, and it goes to the private sector.
Not only that, but I heard that, those that are already in private schools, already paid for that, will be eligible for those vouchers. And so it's like, so that takes more money away from, the ones that really need it.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I was saying what's happening in schools now, that's all part of it. They don't have money to care for, to give the kids the school.
the teachers,
the teachers, and they're coming up with all kinds of crazy things. And those are the little nitpicky things that I'm seeing. Because I have a 13-year-old that's there in school, and I'm seeing this.
And I will say, anybody who's asking whether it's going to work or not has obviously never used a voucher for anything. A housing voucher, it's not required that a landlord accepts a housing voucher. They can be very burdensome, difficult to get a hold of, and make it really hard, whereas just like great public housing or just affordable housing existing would be a much better help to folks. And I suspect that we'll see the same kind of bureaucratic red tape around school vouchers as well, and we'll be fighting that tooth and nail this session. There you go, more door knocking, exactly. Thank you all so much. Thank you to John, thank you to Jackie, thank you all there you go. Sorry, supposed to be call us anytime.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks, Lori, and thanks, Colleen. Wasn't that awesome?